I learned digital painting in a month, and this is how it went. Hey y'all, it's Morgan, and I'm a self-taught creative person who likes to dabble in different mediums like color pencil, watercolor, and fiber arts, for example. But I have yet to venture into the world of digital painting, until now. Let's talk about what you're watching me do. The first prompt was Oracle, so I decided to make a seer holding her crystal ball. This is my first real attempt at digital painting. When I first got this tablet, which is an XP Pen Deco Pro graphics tablet, what a mouthful, I got it out and did a quick mushroom, and I quickly became overwhelmed by all the technical stuff. So I kept putting off digital art until I had the time to actually learn how to use it. When October rolled around, I felt ready to take on the challenge. I decided to do one of those Drawtober challenges on Instagram to make it more fun and add a bit of accountability. I used the prompt list from Lita Havasi, which only had 16 prompts instead of 31, which most of the other ones had, which seemed a bit more realistic for me. In the end, I only came out with 8 pieces, but you'll see how that goes. Also, the program I'm using is called Krita, and it is free, and I've enjoyed using it so far. For this first prompt, I didn't know anything about clipping layers and the alpha stuff, so I tried to color in the lines, which was a bit difficult and time-consuming, and then I ran into issues with the background. So that didn't work quite how I hoped. I was needing to finish this one up, so I didn't have time to explore more, so I was like, I'm just gonna draw the background around her, because I couldn't put a fill layer underneath her without it showing through. One of the things about doing a time-limited challenge like this is that it forces you to keep moving. Like, I can't just nitpick and try to get it perfect or do it the right way. Sometimes you just gotta find the workaround, like making the background around the girl instead of all the way underneath her, because you just don't have the time to figure it out. You can see I went back in and added shadows to recreate that form that I covered up when I upped the opacity, and just going in and adding some details like these nails, and that is a pretty good hand if I do say so myself. Then she was looking a bit dim, so I needed to go in and add some pizzazz with some highlights. Before I started this digital painting challenge, I had been working pretty consistently in my sketchbook, doing portraits and practicing values and shading. One of my recent videos is actually my sketchbook tour from doing those portraits, and it was the lead up to this challenge, so if you're interested, go check that out. Okay, so this girly is about done. It's time to go in with some line work to really make her stand out. This was a fun brush to use, and then gotta add some sparkle for good measure. Overall, I'm really happy with how this turned out. The second prompt was Witch's Shop, and I was already getting behind. I decided on a simple storefront with some broom parking and a magical name. I tried a couple new things here. I used the move around tool to make some adjustments to the overall sketch, and then I used the rectangle tool to fill in the sketch or make it better because my lines were kind of wonky. After getting the text on, I needed to add the texture and depth to bring it to life, so I added a bit of shading here and there. This one came out pretty simple in 2D, but considering that buildings are not my usual subject and I'm still figuring out the program, it's good enough for me. Next up is Vampire Forest Moon. By this point, I realized that I needed to start combining prompts if I had any hope of getting to all of them. This combination made me think of Tara from True Blood, so I used her as my inspiration for this. I really enjoyed making the background here. It was so satisfying to see the colors work together. I zoomed out when I got to working on the vampire, and then I realized something. I had been working on the background the whole time, but it zoomed in at the wrong, it was zoomed in, it wasn't at the normal thing. So now I gotta make some adjustments here. I tried a similar coloring technique to the Oracle, but it was not working. About halfway through, I got a little stumped on getting the colors opaque and was having the same issue as the first prompt. I needed to try something new. So I decided to warm up and play around using all the different brushes and discovered an easiest way to block in colors. and I finally figured out how to do the clipping groups and the alpha lock, which was a lifesaver. Unfortunately, I don't have the rest of the footage for this vampire because the program that I was using to record messed up and recorded a black screen with my mouse moving. Luckily, I saved some progress pics along the way because this is where the magic happened. Everything got so much easier after figuring out the clipping layers, and I'm really happy with how the final piece turned out, especially the touch of blue lighting. Prompt 6, Self-Love Spell, ended up being kind of just a doodle and playing around because I was behind, of course, and I didn't really have like a good idea of what to make for this anyways, so something quick and easy just to play. That was it. But prompts 7 and 8, Bats and Pastels, was a different story. This was the first one where I actually felt like I knew what I was doing and had a good workflow, which went something like starting with the sketch and then doing a line work layer to finalize the sketch, and then creating new layers for each body group, and then laying down a flat opaque base like I did for the vampire, and then add a clipping group to those to do the shading and details. And it makes it so much easier to stay in the lines and speeds things up enormously. And now I don't have the problem of the background showing through. However, I am trying to make my bat look a little bit translucent. I really enjoyed making this one, especially since I felt like I had a good grasp of how to use Krita. I was able to play around with color a lot, especially when it came to adding dimension to the wings. That's where I added the pastel colors, some blue and pink. And the stars in the back are like pastel yellow. I think this one is my favorite out of all of them. Up next is prompts 9 and 11, Ghost and Cottagecore. Mushrooms are one of my favorite things to draw, so of course they had to make an appearance. I really enjoyed playing with the color and texture. I used a lot of different brushes here. I love how playful and bright this one turned out. Prompt 10 didn't get completely skipped. I ended up doing a throwback for this one from a couple years ago because, of course, I was very behind, and this was my attempt to catch up. Prompts 12, 13, 14, Zombie, Reptile, and Storm was quite a challenge because I'm not used to drawing any of this, like weather or reptiles or zombies. But I did my best, and I think I did pretty good. It was difficult to pick colors at first, so I just started with something, and it did not match my vibe at all, so all the colors ended up changing. But that's one of the nice things about putting each of the like subject things in different layers, is you can just take a brush and swipe a new color on to have a different base, which is so nice. My favorite part of this one was using the snakeskin brush. It added so much texture that I could never have done otherwise. To make this a zombie snake, I went in with black and made some holes and added some ribs peeking through. Certainly not the most realistic thing, but I think it reads as a zombie snake, kinda. Then I went in with some colors to add some more like dark lighting and make it a little more moody and make that lightning reflection pop. Although this one was pretty challenging, I'd say I'm satisfied with how it turned out. Alright, we have finally made it to the last one. Prompts 15 and 16, Galaxy and Gothic. This one I took it back to what I'm kind of comfortable with, portraits. I plan to give the girl sort of gothic makeup and then have a galaxy background. Overall, throughout this challenge, I feel like I've become more competent using Krita to paint digitally. I still have a lot more to learn, but I got the basics down. So now, if I get an idea, I can just get my tablet out and paint without the frustration of trying to figure out the technical stuff. I was actually able to do that a few weeks after wrapping up this challenge, and I'll show you that shortly. I really liked the direction this Gothic Galaxy girl was going, and I wish I had spent more time rendering her, but I was already behind. It was, a few days into November at this point. And of course I forgot to record the best part, which was the makeup, but you get to see it here. This is what I made a few weeks later using the skills I learned. It's a little fan art of Ramona Flowers from the Scott Pilgrim anime, and I just love how she came out. She's not perfect, but she makes me happy. Thank you so much for joining me on this art journey. If you like this video, please consider sticking around for a while and subscribing. And if you want to see more like this, be sure to check out the playlist in the description and probably somewhere on this screen. I hope to see you again soon in the next video. Bye!